name is Kevin Chaos, and welcome to the first installment of what soon will be structured Narcissist TV. First, a little bit of a warning, huge trigger warning. I have like an assload of mental illnesses, okay? ADHD, bipolar, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, Asperger's, that's high functioning autism, folks. Probably some other shit I'm not thinking of. All right, but here's the thing. So if you guys have been following, you've seen a little bit of Landlord Wars without me sharing too many direct clips, but mostly stories. There's reasons for that. We're about to give it all. We're at the end of our rope, hanging, swinging from that noose, and the news is we're winning while we're losing. We're walking to the beginning of the end. I'm glad to be at the near end of this chapter. There's so much stuff popping off. Last night was yet one more chaotic warfare. From racial slurs being yelled at me, white devil kind of shit, you know. People just stirring shit. Or if I take a photograph or whip my camera out, is it because I am black? No, it's because you're fucking stupid. But alright. Oh, more trigger warnings. This and all of my videos will feature obscene language, graphic language, sexual suggestive themes, and possible imagery. It will use swear words, utter chaos, you know. I don't pretend to be, but so staple. I think I have a relatively good head on my shoulders. I definitely do have mood disorders. But ultimately, I'm a terrorist because you're a terrorist. Here's the thing, folks. The biggest thing that I believe in is the mirror, right? That's the thing we can observe. And if I see a behavior as part of autism, but also part of just my choice, I learn from my surroundings, right? And if you think it's okay to yell, I'm allowed to yell. If you think it's okay to lie, I'm allowed to lie. If you think it's okay to slander, I'm allowed to slander. Ruin reputations, I'm allowed. Get your goons, your homies, your niggas, your brothers, your posse, your homeboys, your friends, your family, your backup, your crew, your clique, etc. If you think it's okay to go down any avenue, I'm allowed that. And I'd love to teach people, and how I teach them usually is by using their own tactics against them. I'm trying a little bit to censor just so this isn't overloaded with swear words, but so I hold them accountable. Now, just a little quip of some of the stuff that's happened in the past 48 hours. So, assuming you've already followed so far, you know there's trouble with the landlord, right? Total chaos. That guy assaulted me. That's when it's in the past 48 hours. He actually attacked me. I have footage of that. Attacked me with the door. Crazy. Tried to lock me out of the house that I'm renting. You feel fearful that I'm following you around with a camera because I'm catching your ass. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, he has a camera. Okay, buddy. So that's one of the things. Another that was pretty interesting was last night. There was 300 people easily outside my fucking house. Don't worry, it wasn't just for me. Not like that. I mean, that would be some pretty impressive gang attention if you had to get like the whole fucking state on me, pretty much. No, it was just an obnoxious party filled with retards and drug users, and that tends to be how parties actually go. But anyway, literally, there were 32 cars just from the license plates I wrote down illegally parked at the church. There were like 13 more illegally parked at this house next door, and then 4 to 6 more on the lawn of the actual party. They kept this shit up until 3 a.m. Started with racial slurs yelling at me and different things going on. Like I walked by with my camera, just walked with my camera, off to the side. People don't like that. If they have nothing to hide, they have nothing to hide, but they probably have a lot to hide. So it started off like, are you recording me because I'm black? Oh my fucking God. Here we go with the black supremacy, racism. Let me make myself a victim for extra power shit. This is why we have expressions like never give a retard a knife. They'll stab themselves. They don't know what to do with a knife. Same thing with power, intelligence. Not to say that, African Americans are any one thing or anything like that. What I mean to say is that people abuse everything they're given. No one understands power, okay? And that racism is a card used when they run out of intelligence to use, or when their lack of intelligence fails. If there's no logic to have, no rhetoric, if you can't control your emotions, one of two things we're going to follow that with, and that's violence, almost guaranteed, right? Or hatred and racism, bigotry. It's the same umbrella. So, yeah, I had fun with it a little bit, though, sort of. I was miserable, no lie. I mean, constant blaring noise, my house rattling at how loud this stuff is. And if the music wasn't loud enough, everybody gets to scream along, go drunk, and tripping over each other's feet. There were fights. Oh, man, at least 6 that I counted, different fights. There were half-naked girls in the church parking lot doing lines and drinking, and this was wild. You might think, wow, that's a pretty good party, great place to be. No, because it ain't my party and I don't know these people. I can't even go over there. And I guess I could have just done that. Doubt it would have worked out, though, because the first time somebody gives me shit, I'm going to give them shit right back, and I and or others would die. And that's no fun. So you had fights, you had street races. One guy did an illegal U-turn with both doors to his car open. Legit. Another guy talked to me, teenager, I guess, because he says his mom tracks him on his phone with geolocation at all times. Weird. Okay. That I don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z while he confronts me to basically say, please don't call the police on us without being so nice. Please don't call the police on us. I'll try to keep the volume down. Basically, he made a deal with me. Not that you have any power to do this shit, but whatever. So in exchange for you guys being reasonable, midnight to 3 a.m., right? I won't harm you. I won't call you out on your shit. Whatever, right? Because why would you, right? But you're keeping the entire block up. The entire block. So I didn't at first. Later on, eventually, I would make the call. But you see my point. I hold people to their own image, their own words. You said this. You made the rules, bro. You made the rules. If I do call the police, that's because you failed the contract. The verbal contract in this case, which is we'll turn it down in exchange for your cooperation of not forcing us to turn it down, right? Pretty much. So far, I'd gotten racism, I'd gotten some hate, gotten some screaming out, people trying to stir shit. Alcoholics are always quick to want to look for a brawl. You know how it goes. And I handled it all very nicely. So I'm miserable. I record some of these things. I take all the license plates down. I'm planning on giving the entire list of license plates to the church, as well as a few photographs of the damage to their property after the fact. The used blunt wrappers, the alcoholic empty cans and stuff. And they'll have a list of the people's license plates just in case the cameras on their properties, which exist, aren't good enough or can't get down 2 or 3 rows of all these cars. There were literally, just in the church parking lot alone, 32 cars. 32 different license plates I took down. None of them are entitled to be there. So yeah, we're going to start posting all of this footage in the near future, though, because I'm facing some news charges, too, because here's some other things that happened in the past 48 hours. Over two years ago, I was in CAMG Housing. Some of you might have seen that video. And CAMG Housing is basically group housing for mentally ill individuals and stuff like that. And they were worse. No judgment in the mental illness, schizophrenia, punching holes in walls, arguing with ghosts, wiping shit on the walls, you name it. After a violent incident, I had to put out restraining orders, the whole bit. Violence continued in the home. I got one of the roommates to sign a paper witnessing one of the violent attacks toward me from another roommate. They tried to say I forged a signature, screamed at the top of their lungs at me, drooling level screaming. They tried to say I said the N-word, totally didn't. Fucking stupid. In a room full of black people with my mother on the phone? Obviously not. Even if I were going to use such a word, I think I would do it with my mother around. Believe it or not every person you see with this color skin, by the way, I'm French, not white, just so you know. But according to that guy, it's the same thing. It's European. AKA, let's start with some racism. I have to see difference and assume a bunch of qualities about you because of the color of your skin. That's racism. That's black supremacy. Well, whatever. Who am I? I'm no psychologist. Or am I? KevinSpoiler.com/school for evil. All kinds of things coming soon. Narcissist TV. We're just going to make this a regular thing until I get arrested or dead. At this point is the point of this video. I think I'm just going to keep pushing the bar. I mean, one way or another, chaos is going to find me. I might as well make the best of it. You know, I'll start selling t-shirts and doing all kinds of fun stuff in the near future. Like, I shot someone with a camera and all I got was shot. Some shit like that, you know, make one of those goofy fucking shirts. I beat Grand Theft Auto and all I got was this slicey shirt, you know, like that. I don't know if any of you guys actually ever played through and got all the hidden packages in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, but I'm just tired, and I'm tired of being tired, and the world is fucking chaos. The world is filled with criminals and violent retards. And no one ever holds them accountable, especially when it comes to racial matters where people are already racist. African Americans are racist towards white people every day of their fucking life. Every day of their life. Not all of them, but a good number of them. They're taught to talk different on purpose, to not be like and not fit in on purpose white guy. And we're supposed to think, okay, well, that's a good thing. It's his culture. No, it's a deviation of culture on purpose, just to be different from the thing hated. But that's fine too. These are all just my opinions, of course. But I can back them up with many African Americans giving me this information. They're taught to talk different. They're taught to talk a certain way when they're around white people for maximum effect. They are taught to avoid and to expect danger, to expect police, to expect violence, to expect to die. And so they're kind of ruled by fear in a lot of cases, and therefore project and presume and assume chaotic, imaginary offenses that turn them into the racist, that turn them into the violent person way too quickly, etc., and so on. Case in point, looking at my neighbor earlier today, I looked to the left of my house, as I do constantly, just looking up and down my street, hanging out on my porch. I looked at him wrong. He didn't say wrong like the classic cliche goes, "You looked at me wrong, huh?" No, he just said, "Why are you looking at me?" I said, "Why not?" I mean, that's a pretty good question, don't you think? Why not? Why not? I'm looking around. It's like, he's supposed to feel nervous. I'll share the clip later because it's not that long. It's like 6 minutes. The audio isn't perfect, so I hope to amplify it before I send it to you because I walked over there, left my phone on the porch, aimed. You can hear me pretty good. You can hear most of his responses, but I feel like I can probably spike up the audio a few decibels whenever we're talking once I walked over there. But it's really wild to think that you can be so fearful of white folks or white-looking folks, that you have to pull out a gun. This guy walked with it out on the side, out in the open plain. So you've already technically broken a couple things. You're supposed to have the weapons visible. That's true, unless you have a concealed permit. However, you're actually supposed to have it in a proper holster. Walking around like this, your whole arm out, gun on the side, not only is intimidating and threatening, granted the surrounding scenarios of information, You looked at me and then all of a sudden someone has a gun. Okay, why do you got a gun? Fear, and that sucks. I wonder if this video will pass censors because I'm talking about a little bit of the differences in the culture right now while we're trying to solve all this. We're trying to find peace, everybody, black guys, white guys, French guys. But because people are literally blinded, black supremacy is at an all-time high. People think that they're super special. No one's special, or we're all special. Ain't that how it works? Isn't it the human race? Oh, we can't even say man anymore. It's person's race. Because man is sexist, and it doesn't include women in mankind, so it's person kind, and it's chairperson of the board. Person speaker instead of madam speaker. We live in crazy times where everybody's fighting for their rights for everything, but people take things to great extremes. In certain places, misidentifying a gender or falling into any of these little problematic scenarios, you just get instantly arrested. And people are banking on that with the racism these days. They can just claim, oh, just like old poor Whitey again. He did it again, y'all. He did it again. He called the police on me. Ooh, I told him I was going to shoot him, and he called the police. That's what the fuck they're for, but no, I wouldn't probably. But that's what they're for. You also can call the police if you don't like me and find Whitey threatening. Like, go ahead. That's what they're fucking for. Call the police. They'll solve me. They'll handle me if I'm wrong, and you get to keep being right and keep being calm and keep being comfortable. Now, we talk about school for evil, so the best case scenario, this is what I would do if I'm calling police. I'll let you argue and fight and be aggressive and all that shit, but I'll be calm by the time the police get there. And I'll be like, excuse me, sir. May I talk to you for a second? Man, wow, the chaos I've witnessed. Things are just way too escalated for no reason. Do you see how calm I am, sir? And probably beforehand, too, if I played my best, if I did my best against my adversary who wanted to scream, agitate, fight, whatever, the public scenario, especially with drunks, we all have witnessed this kind of thing. There's a fine line to walk on how to talk. Of course, granted, most of you would choose the path of least resistance. Let a drunk be a drunk. Let a violent person be violent. Don't let them target you, don't feed the flames. Don't talk back to them. They're wrong. Let them be wrong alone. I'm not like that. I'm the opposite. Call them out. Force them to change. Get their ass to stop. There's no reason why they should hurt you and you turn the other cheek, get punched in the other jaw. There's no reason why they should get away with littering or whatever the offense is, trespassing, volume, screaming, cursing, threats of bodily harm, any of these things. None of that's appropriate. Just because I can be the bigger man and look the other way doesn't mean that I should, because it turns out, like the cab driver video, which I'll release later as well, she's had 5,000 rides. That's a pretty even roundabout number, it tells that. But whatever. And no one's ever complained yet. But what that tells me is it looks like it's time for someone to. Are you catching the moral of this, folks? If you're a pushover in society, whether someone's racist, whether someone has guns, doesn't matter. And maybe you'll get hurt, maybe not. Maybe I'll die one day. Probably. Not yet, so I feel pretty comfortable. But you can let that happen, push you over, steal your wallet, whatever the thing is, however far it goes, right? But if you don't stand up for yourself, you're not only letting that person do this to you, you're encouraging the behavior to be done to other people. Criminals will be criminals. That is not to say black people are criminals. That is to say criminals in general will be criminals. To allow it so passively, or even passive-aggressively, means that they will continue it. You're not going to get any justice that way. You're not going to get the problems to stop. Just because you pretend to ignore the problem and don't escalate a situation doesn't mean there's not a situation. So I handle things quite the opposite. Hold people responsible and might even escalate it on purpose so that you can continue to be wrong and we can force the situation into some kind of change, climax, conclusion. So we're going to start doing this narcissist TV thing, and we're going to start taking way bigger risks. There's a lot of stuff that's different with cameras. We talked a little bit about phone laws in the past. We talked a little bit about recording in public. Even the cop tried to gaslight me yesterday. That's another thing that happened in the past 48 hours. Cops were called on me by my landlord after he assaulted me. People are just dumb, folks. And so he called the cops. Cops get here. I walk over. And the cop tells me I'm not allowed to record. That's not true. Of course, the cop can make it worse. Almost every cop I've dealt with out here is good. This is the first argumentative and aggressive one looking to jump. I can see it a mile away. Says it's illegal to record. No, it's not. He says, take a step back. Already 2 human lengths. If I were laying on the ground and I'm 5'6", there's 2 of me in between me and the cop. No, I'm not. You're impeding investigation. No, I'm not. You're talking to me. Yep, I'm replying to you only when you speak to me. Otherwise, I'm standing here on a public sidewalk, recording in a public space. Don't know what to tell you, man. I let him show that I said, can you cite me the statute of any law I'm breaking? Of course, he couldn't. He gave up. Somewhere in between, I mentioned Cop Block, and he used that as incentive to feel even more superior. Well, you can listen to Cop Block, but or you can listen to a lawyer. Now, he's not a lawyer. Duh. He's a cop. Whatever, who don't even know the law, who's trying to give me an unlawful order, right? So I didn't push it too far too long. I just let him know, hey, you were recorded. I got what I needed. I'm going to walk away now. Because saying or doing anything else would encourage him to commit violence, force me into some kind of detained position, etc. And the gaslighting didn't end there. When the cop was done talking to Carl, the landlord, he came to the house. Walked right in, didn't even knock. Wow, right? Yeah. Yelled up to me. I live on the 2nd floor. Yelled up to me. And he says, Kevin, I don't know who the fuck you are. Well, I guess I could answer you. What? I want to talk to you. I know who it is now. Okay, cool. No. Actually, that's not what I said. I didn't say no. I said, I can't talk to you. You've already came forward with your foot in your mouth. You were aggressive. You were argumentative. You were trying to give unlawful orders. I don't have anyone to help me advocate or protect me here. I've already witnessed and experienced violence today. If you bring a medical professional on the scene that can help advocate for me so that you don't weaponize my autism and speech, try to make me seem argumentative or oppositional or anything like that, I can talk to you. If not, I can't afford to talk to you. You're a threat. I don't feel safe. He tried again. I repeated verbatim the same statement. He tried a 3rd time. I repeated verbatim the same statement. Then he walked up. That's 3 times and 3 failures already to gaslight me. Then he walked up the stairs, knocked on my actual door, right? Knocked on my door and asked me again. I told him, I can't, bro, I can't. You're going to have to leave. And he left. So If you allow things, what would happen next, logically, folks? Ask yourself, especially if you're an African American. Yeah? Because apparently you guys have a lot of bad experiences with police, allegedly. Allegedly. Because looking into real facts, so do white people. So do French people. People are hurt by people all day long, all the time, by races of all kinds of colors. And I hate some of these games because everybody's turning everything into a power game these days. But what would have happened? Ask your African community what would have happened if you continued to argue with the cop and tried to exercise some form of right while he has weaponry, public space or not. They're going to cover up the body cam. They're going to hide any misdeeds if they're even wearing one. You're going to be tackled to the ground. Whether wrong or right, whether they have a charge ready to go or not, they'll come up with something later. They're going to detain you. After the cam's already been hidden or whatever, they can just claim you were aggressive, that they saw some kind of gesture, some hand twitch, some reaching for a weapon that was never found later, etc. You guys know the spiel. That's why I mentioned Cop Block to get this reaction. He don't know why I mentioned that. It wasn't because I needed to say, oh, well, I'm in the right because these guys exist. No, it was just to see how you'd react in your authoritarian complex. And you acted aggressively and defensively. Well, you could listen to Cop Block, but they're no lawyers. Oh, you're an emotional one. Okay. And it showed me who I was dealing with. Ultimately, that was an emotional test. It let me know if I was going to be able to have a reasonable conversation with him after he was done talking to the landlord. Right? You're learning with me as I show you these little tiny tricks as we go along with psychology, with pushing or not pushing people's buttons, of how to defend yourself. I have enough mental illnesses where at least I have a slight defense, although you'd be surprised. There ain't a whole lot of things in the works to be able to help you. Focusing back on the direct line of topic. So we're going to start Narcissist TV. I'm going to start releasing these clips if I don't get arrested or something worse. I did just get another charge for over 2 years ago staying in Cam G. They're claiming I'm brandishing a machete. What? Brandish? Okay. I want to think the time limit on that's already up. 2, I never brandished no goddamn machete, though I did own one and was homeless before the CAMG housing, which is how you get the CAMG housing. Being consecutive homeless and having mental illnesses and getting in these housings designed for that, to help the mentally ill with just that. No, you're an idiot, but all right. And I'll probably beat that. I mean, there's really no reason why I shouldn't. Because even if I did, which I didn't, where are you going to get that evidence? There's no cameras in the fucking house. Nothing. So what are you going to... But I'm autistic, and because I might have bitched back one day and said something negative in a text message. Oh, and you lied. That's the true part. I got a bad mouth. Everything around it, though, if you surround lies with truth, it's more likely people are going to swallow the lies. Because they... Oh, yeah, I see that. And then all of a sudden, when the lie comes in, yeah, I guess someone who acted like XYZ might do all those things. It's just that much easier to believe. So I do think today, though, I will. It might take a little bit, but I'll definitely release some of the cabbie footage today. It might get me banned on YouTube. We'll see. Actually, just to be safe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a short clip saying check out Narcissist TV and give you a link and post that to YouTube, and upload the video to BitChute just to be safe, because this is, as the title sounds, Narcissist TV. I'm very much so pushing the bar of what is legally allowed, what is verbally and socially acceptable with the autism. You could call me a terrorist if you want to, but I'm only acting like my opponent, just excessively more so than them. If you're loud, I'm louder. If you're rude, I'm ruder. More rude. So you will see me gaslight the driver. Now, it worked with the driver. It didn't work when a cop did it to me. I'm familiar with these games, right? So, for example, the driver was driving without a seatbelt, driving over curbs. We don't know that she was drinking and driving. We do know that all of those things could be a side effect from drinking and getting behind the wheel, right? Okay. But for a recovering, which we also don't know yet, found out very quickly, used to our advantage, a recovering addict. Of course, they say, I'm a recovered addict. No, you're not. Why are you still going to classes? Why are you counting numbers? You ain't recovered them. That's something I can use to my advantage while you think you're mentally and emotionally superior, screaming, causing me chaos and problems. I'm going to make sure to bring you down, to suffer the things you're trying to do to me. Sorry about your luck. And you'll see that, quite frankly, I seem borderline evil in this video. I was willing to stay in this car that does not belong to me until police arrived. Police arrived, didn't even bother to ask for my name. Problem solved. No charges, no worries. This woman who was fearful for her life, that I illegally camped in her vehicle, refusing to leave her personal private property while harassing her allegedly, and I'm fine. No charges. And then I'm going to upload this video, and you think that's even more evidence against me, right? But again, no, it isn't. As long as you know what you're doing. Now, one, I have Asperger's. That does help quite a bit because it's not just an excuse. There's only so much better I could do anyway. But if you pay attention to the sequence of events when I go through these things, I'm literally waiting for permission to act, think, do a certain thing. I don't want to be wrong, do you? So if you think it's okay to call names or to raise your voice, I start to do it. If you point out that I'm raising my voice after, I'm going to tell you, oh, well, no, you're raising your voice. I'm raising my voice with you. I'm you. Don't you get it? You know? So we have to share some of those clips. The driver literally, I love when they do this. I finally caught it very close up angle too, because I'm literally just in the back seat and I got to put my arm out and all that. If you're already threatened and all that shit too, why ain't you getting out of the car? You're not threatened, dude. Whatever. But you know, and what's I caught footage of her doing this and praying in the name of Jesus. Jesus, protect me. In the name of the blood of the penis. You know, you get the idea. I can't help but be disrespectful. If you're a fucking terrorist, if you're irate, loud, screaming, retarded, and then you got to protect yourself from other people seeking justice or talking back to you because your God is so powerful. Your God is so powerful that he protected you from being an alcoholic. Nope. Recovering. Your God is so powerful that he protected you from someone being able to run their mouth at you. Oh no, my feelings are so hurt. Let me talk to God. Dear invisible jojoba, please take my pain and give me the strength to chant the exact same words for 45 minutes. And, you see how crazy that sounds? Now, I'm not against people having faith per se, but you're supposed to combine that. God only helps those who help themselves, although that's not really scripture. It's called phantom scripture. A lot of pastors say it, but it's not in the book. There is some truth to, if you want God to do things for you, to work toward the same goal in real life at the same time. He's going to give you assistance, but supposedly he doesn't just automatically give everybody everything. So that's 45 minutes of wasted time unless you're also doing actions to protect yourself, right? You're not. You're sitting there coming up with lies. And I mean, or schizophrenia. Maybe they're crazy, you know? If you're sitting there like, you know, someone, let's say I had a gun. I didn't, but let's say I had a gun and I pointed at her. And all of a sudden, it's Jeebus pee out the butthole and starting praying and repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Does that stop bullets? And I'd love anyone to show me any evidence that it ever has. You know, and the answer is obviously no, it does not. You would die. And the prayer would be pointless because you're already connected with your God and already get your heaven and all those things are already established. So literally it's just a wasted breath. To what? Feel comfortable to believe what you already believe in your last moments? No. So you don't feel fearful. But I think it's cool that I caught some of that footage. It will definitely be a part of an upcoming project of, let's call it Christian Psychosis. That'll be a good title for a video. It'll be like really long though, like half hour to an hour. And it won't be like a talkie video. I want to just put together compilation footage like a documentary, you know, of insanity by Christians. You know, the idea that you can scream at the top of your lungs, that you can drool, that you can willingly call yourself a recovering alcoholic and think you're a good girl of God, that you can pray, you're threatened, right? Allegedly. You don't feel safe, allegedly. You didn't call police though, right? First you call your dispatch for the cab. You don't feel threatened. That's wrong. That doesn't make any sense. You should have called police immediately. They shouldn't have been called second when your first call didn't work to try to incriminate somebody. And maybe, though, you tricked yourself into believing that you really were fearful. Hence all of this. Or maybe that's part of the act because people are recording. Because even in said recording, they're like, I'm afraid he's going to try to say something that didn't happen later. As well as one of the people in recording, she called one of her homegirls, telling her to sick her sons on me. Why don't you just call your sons and get them hurt? Y'all are fucking stupid, dude. And that's the problem with emotions. And I have a lot of emotions, but the thing is, you don't enter war when you're emotional. Okay? That's a good thing to write down. Get your pad. Don't enter war when you're emotional. Okay? 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene teaches us that the single greatest obstacle to power that there is emotion. And you can't avoid having them, so don't try. But there's a proper time, place, and way to channel those emotions. And it's not impulsively on the spot as soon as you feel something to react. Instead, like Kevin Chaos says, act, don't react. I'm thinking, you're feeling. That's going to be a problem no matter how much you feel that you're in the right, that you feel that you'll get away, that you feel you'll succeed. You need to think through how to get those things. The feeling is all well and good with God. But the thoughts, the processes, the multiple avenues that your God can help you acquire that are in the physical world. And that's thought through tangible matter and circumstances. So look forward to some clips. It'll be no later than tomorrow morning, unless the landlord or something gets clever and disconnects and there's some other crazy shit. But I will definitely upload at least a little something to give you a little preview here. And the majority will unfortunately have to go to BitChute because there's no way in hell they're not going to call it hate speech or violence or whatever. Even this video is chancy because I use the words white and black, and I'm talking about the misjustices I've received as a French American. Okay? It's not fun. It's not cool. Every day it seems, and I do live in Portsmouth, Virginia, it seems that violence, racism, people are dying all the fucking time, shot over the dumbest shit. Over the dumbest shit. Okay? Guy pulled a gun over me earlier. You heard me say that. Overlooking in his direction. That's where we live. I look like this. You look like that. The colors don't exactly look the same, despite that we all normally anyway, unless something goes wrong, have 5 fingers and 5 toes on each limb. Well, you know what I mean. 5 fingers on each arm and 5 toes on each foot. This is fundamentally how we are. 2 breasts, 2 reproductive organs, ovaries, testicles, human. But because, and that's what I never understood racism from any side. I didn't understand it when people wanted to pump up the KKK, even after the movement died to like 27 members remaining. Okay, fear rules you, get it. But I don't understand it anymore now that African Americans are the new superior race, or so it seems, or at least the belief system. And I don't know. I know these aren't organized movements or nothing like that, but I think people take information like they receive on the news or take isolated incidences and there are real things out there that do occur. There's racism all over the board with everybody against everybody. All races can be potentially racist towards all other races, and it does occur on occasion. But I think people take one little piece of information, and as soon as they feel outrage, they run with it. And it becomes a much, much larger, less thought through, less factual thing. It becomes violence. It becomes aggression. It becomes terrorism. And it ends up to where the guy that you're calling white devil has to kind of embrace the stereotype of being the bad guy and being the devil and talking to police or defending his life. And what happens if the white man defends his life? Oh, it's just another innocent black person. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that guy who brought that gun out, what if I stopped him? What if the threats continued and I was put into a situation where very dangerously I had to avoid dying from a person who wanted to wield weaponry and tell me not to look at him? If I silenced him, even if I didn't kill him, if I attacked, if the gun is drawn, I disarm and I knock him unconscious, even that simple. What does it look like to the black supremacist telling the story later? Right? What's it look like? Another innocent black man taken down in his prime. White devil strikes again, harming us poor black folk. White devil calls police. White devil Which is exactly why after last night's racism, I put on my devil mask and went for a walk through the woods, which I got, not through the woods, through the neighborhood. I wish we had woods. But I got it actually for Halloween, and once I saw the reactions from people out here, like, White Devil is something real to them, man. I almost got shot just for wearing the mask on Halloween. That's the level of fear. Politics, huh? So I made sure to walk it and wear it anyway. You've already made up your mind. If you're going to murder me, you're going to murder me. If you're going to fight me, you're going to fight me. If you're going to yell racial slurs and hate, you're going to do that. Might as well let you believe it. Fuck it. Fuck it, right? So I'll have to make a video on that too, which will also have to be on BitChute so we can explore all the data that we actually have. When police deal with you, for example, to ask you, what is your gender? What is your ethnicity? Where they're doing all of these things and keeping records. We're already coming up with brand new statistics for those who didn't want to believe that we already had them before. You know, and there's so many things. There's like fake racial disparities and there's real racial disparities and there's exaggerated disparities. And then there's disparities that aren't exaggerated enough. Like they aren't highlighted, aren't known about, aren't aware of enough. But I get to sit on the other side of the fence of the age-old race argument, you know? Like, I don't have a stake in the stables as a French guy. They tried to help you. You know? But when you can look at the skin tone and you can say, there's the white man to hate. Let me be overly prepared. Let me carry weapons specifically because white people are nearby. Let me be aggressive and violent and domineer my way through because I have to survive in a white man's world. Even when the landlord had a tenant here who broke down my door with a sledgehammer. What I was told by the landlord, even though it says any violent act whatsoever, is immediately expulsion from the premises. But the landlord's black. The violent tenant was black. Of course nothing happened. Instead, do you know what the landlord told me? He told me, I'm sorry, I'm keeping my anxiety in check. It's not fun, but I do like talking about things. I need to remember how he grew up. I need to remember where he grew up. Now, not only am I not this person to have any of that information, I'm not black either, if that's what you're saying. And what he was insinuating, he said a couple more statements similar, was that this is a black man who grew up in a white man's world. This is the logic. Who has had to learn to be aggressive and intimidating and make any kind of progress in a world stacked against him. And although I can kind of understand that, I don't have any power over this guy. I'm a tenant, you're a tenant. There's no reason for me to respect or give extra credence and forgiveness towards violent behavior. There is no appropriate reason. Everyone's seen this one. African American hangs in the doorway, makes you walk through them. The dominance test. The alpha test. And they're actually impressed and give you respect if you're willing to brush right physically through them. That's wrong, sir. So I'm supposed to remember these kind of people, and that's just a different example. I wasn't that guy sitting in the doorway, but of African American survival in an alleged white man's world, and it's clearly not. Black presidents, entirely African alone, which is racism. Schools, United Negro College Fund. Okay, there are things to show that not only are there things that only favor black people, which is what's called reverse racism, but that the exaggerations of some of the hate, some of the misjustices are just that. Do they happen on occasion? Do they happen in certain places? Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Should you think the entire world is ran by some secret organization? That's like the people that believe in the Illuminati. And there are a lot of people in power, and there are a lot of powerful groups and fraternities. But it's not one master group, and it's not one master race either. Especially when you get it wrong because you're making an assumption off of skin color. That's racist. You're not a victim. You're the aggressor. And I've had to fight so many interesting battles. And it's gotten to the point where, I might die one day doing the things I'm doing. But at least I get to educate the world. And I'm not afraid of death, so it's no big deal to me. I'm just a human life out of the millions and billions, of organisms on this planet. Everything will keep on turning. The wheels just keep on turning. So, Narcissist TV is going to happen. Now, you can call it bipolar or autism or something else, but I'm going to make sure situations. I'm basically not going to opt out. We make the constant decision to turn the other cheek or walk away. Just walk away. Be the bigger man. I don't want to be the bigger man. The bigger man is always the man losing. Bigger man is always the man saying, oh yeah, scream at me and take control of my space and trespass on my property because I don't want to fight, which is exactly what the racist, now again, to repeat, not all African Americans are racist. So the racist African Americans, the African Americans that are racist, perfect. It's exactly what they bank on, exactly what they rely on, that you be intimidated, that you be a pushover, that violence and aggression and that fear. I even had one African American describe it to me and called the art pressing. And he said, let me show you how to press a G. This is how to press a G. And he was one of my roommates here, and he showed me the walk and the intimidating way of leaning forward and getting into people's spaces and faces from a distance, that lean in. He taught me the shoulder bump and the chest bump, which is where you puff your chest out so you're not technically physically handling somebody, but that you can just brush up and punk motherfuckers into fighting you. So it does happen. This is a very real art. Does that helping you survive the white man's world and making you look like all the stereotypes that people are claiming? I don't know. But I know I don't like being the target of anybody who thinks they're superior in any way. A cop, a principal, not even a parent. So I definitely don't tolerate anybody thinking that because I am a particular skin color that you're better than me. That you can win some kind of rigged thing due to it. We're looking at a lot of updates and videos coming in the near future, but I'm pretty much deciding to just start doing live videos to talk like this, and to, instead of doing the show in the traditional sense and it being every Sunday at 9, we're going to turn that into much higher quality and just produce it. I mean, because the topics I want to go into are deep. I was forcing it a bit, no lie. Trying to just come up with constant material and stuff for people, and that means less sustenance. I want high definition graphics. I want documentary style quality. I want details so vivid and storytelling so good that you're enthralled, like reading a Goosebump book or watching a horror movie. So we're going to make less updates when it comes to the long KTV projects. Narcissist TV also will take some time for some things, but we'll be sure to pump out clips before we make episodes out of them or something like that. So everybody stays interested if it takes time, because I have so many things in different directions. But we're going to start doing things much more quality and less frequently when it comes to the big stuff. Frequently, we will do video games. Frequently, we will do free songs. And frequently, we'll do little live stream updates and stories and stuff from time to time. But for any of the high quality sustenance stuff, do give a like. Do give a thumb up and subscribe. There's plenty of stuff to come. And do check out bitshoot.com/KTV. Because all of the most highly controversial material will be there. Anyway, I'm Kevin Chaos, Kevin Chaos Official, the Autistic Wizard, kevinsportal.com. Hope to see you around.